My name is James Tallon. I'm the miller here at Martry Mill. I've been the main miller for a few years now, maybe since 2019. But I'm the fifth generation of miller to make flour here at Martry Mill. I've always been around the mill and milling since I was probably in my early teenage years. Helping my dad, I learned all about the various machines, how they work, about wheat. It's been a lifetime learning curve, so I thought it would be a shame to let this place run quiet and discontinue making flour. So I kind of felt like I should step in to become the main miller and keep this place taken over. The process to make flour here is actually relatively simple, and the traditional way, sometimes quality is better than quantity, and the traditional way certainly gives you that. The method that we rely on after the cleaning process is gravity. The wheat arrives in the hopper on the top level as very, very clean. It feeds through a cone that goes through the floor down to the second level, and then a series of chutes control the speed of the feed, which feeds in between the millstones. So the flour itself is ground when the grain is drip fed in between the millstones. It's a much slower process than a modern mill. The absolute maximum that I can do in a day here is maybe about a ton. If I try to do any more, I'll be working the mill too hard, and I would possibly compromise on the quality. So it's not something that I do. For us, it's just a 10-second process of dropping the clean wheat in between the millstone, and when it works its way from the middle of the millstone to the outside, it becomes flour in 10 seconds. And what you're left with then is a very natural and wholesome flour. The natural goodness, the vitamins, the minerals, the antioxidants, the healthy fats and oils, none of this is lost when you use traditional millstones. They maintain all of the goodness in the flour, and you can feel this in the flavor as well as in the natural goodness that is very healthy for us. Once we have our flour in this mill, most of the flour is hand packed. The bigger sacks for the baker, but for the smaller 2 kilo packs, rather than introducing a modern series of machine to do this manually, which we feel will be out of character with the mill, we hand pack this ourselves. We've got some lovely packaging which we source in Ireland. It includes some history on the mill. It also includes a great recipe for baking brown bread, and directly supply it to the customers ourselves, to the various supermarkets around County Meath and in the surrounding. It's very, very easy if you've got great millstones, which luckily we're blessed with. The millstones that we use, they've been here since before my family arrived in the 1850s, so they're very, very old. We know that there's been a mill here in some capacity for at least 700 years. Before 1745, the history isn't as well recorded. There's land surveys from Cromwellian times in the 1640s, and for a long time that was the oldest reference we had to the mill here at Martry. But we found an older reference in recent years dating back to the 1300s. The original mill here, and even in the 1300s, the person that took the survey 700 years ago referred to a tumble down old mill. It's impossible to know exactly how old the mill is, but it could very well be that it's already been here for a millennium, or been here in some capacity for a millennium. The mill has been expanded over the years, but the original mill here could very well be 1,000 years old already. The history and the long history here, there's hundreds of years worth of millers and flour production here in Martry, so it's a tradition that we feel is worth preserving. We've been very busy recently with school tours and educational tours. Like, educational tours are a supplementary income that really help to keep us going. We've added an oven, so it's become more interactive. Typically we'll start off with tea and coffee and bread tasting, and that allows everybody to arrive and absorb the environment and enjoy the experience of the mill and do a little bit of exploring before we get into the baking. And we'll do the baking next, which typically takes half an hour to put a loaf together. I've been baking bread since I was a young lad. It's part and parcel, I guess, of being a miller's son. When you have great flour available to you, you learn how to use it. So yeah, I'd say I would be an expert baker as far as brown bread is concerned. Now, I wouldn't be as good with cakes or anything like that. I stick to what I need to know. Tours and open days here, our visitors will collect some flour directly from the millstone, and the ingredients that we use are Martry Mill brown flour. We use some plain white flour, some bread soda, some salt, and some buttermilk. So there's 5 key ingredients. Once you have the 4 dry ingredients in your bowl, you need to give them a good mix. Add about half a litre of buttermilk, mixing it again very thoroughly. You want to make sure that the buttermilk is absorbed into all of the flour. Preheat your oven to 220 degrees. And cook in the oven for about 50 minutes, preheat it to 220 degrees, and about 50 minutes, maybe 1 minute at the end, take the cover off, and you have the perfect loaf of brown bread. My favorite topping for the brown bread would be some nice butter with some Coleman's mustard and some nice fresh ham. There's a guy over the road in Greek, Kevin McHugh. He does really great quality ham, so that's the topping of choice for me. However, the bread goes great with anything. It's lovely with some nice jam for dessert rather than some ham for savoury. It's personal preference. It goes with many different toppings. Whilst the loaf is in the oven, we do a guided tour around the whole of the mill, explaining all about the history, the functions of different rooms in the mill, how they've changed over the years, what has stayed the same, a mill tour and a demonstration of how the actual mill works, so they see all the machines, and the interactive nature of the tour really engages them. So it's education kind of has become part of the milling game here, and we also do open days, so anybody who wants can come to the mill. Thanks very much for coming to visit us here at Martry Mill today, guys. If you would ever like to come and visit us, we have open days throughout the summer months. We arrange, we cater for private tours. Our flour is available all throughout County Meath and all the super values and all the normal small local shops more directly in our area. So if you ever fancy a visit to Martry Mill, please reach out, and we'd be more than happy to accommodate you.